This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your source for the latest Iowa ag news headlines right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, Mark Magnuson, and Andy Peterson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Dustin.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Huffman. Today is Wednesday, April the 23rd, 2025. So glad you could join us here today. Coming up a little later on in the program, we'll talk with Ross Baldwin of agmarket.net to find out what happened in those closing markets. But first, we're going to kick things off by talking with Dr. Sally Flis of Nutrien, talking about some of the things being done for conservation farming and agronomy to help sustain our soil and water quality into the future. With Dr. Sally Flis, thank you so much for taking the time to visit with us today.
Thank you. It's
so,
good to be with you, Dustin.
We're talking sustainability today. Tell us about what's going on with Nutrien and things you're doing to help farmers out with that.
For sure. So we have our Farm Smart programs where we work with growers on establishing and measuring what they're doing in their fields for sustainability footprints, but we also offer opportunities around improving their nitrogen management and getting them paid for reducing emissions related to carbon.
And we know that those incentives are definitely paramount to getting some of those farmers to switch over because it's got to make economic sense for them.
Exactly.
So tell us how you're helping them make that work.
Yeah, so in our Sustainable Nitrogen Outcomes program, growers can receive a minimum of $4.50 an acre. They do have to make a rate reduction. It's a 5% rate reduction in order to participate in the program, but it's a bit of a choose your own adventure. So they can do anywhere from 5 to 30% rate reduction in their nitrogen, but they can also add, to get a bigger payment, a nitrification inhibitor or a slow controlled release fertilizer.
Okay, and so those ways will help make up for some of the cut down in that a little bit. So, and then tell us about some of the other programs you guys are running too.
Yeah, so we also do some what we call measurement programs, which is really just working with growers. Growers can get $2.50 an acre to just record the practices they're doing in the field. And one of the opportunities we see there is when these biofuel companies want to start including carbon intensity scores from feedstocks, that's a way that we can help them have the data together and tracked so that they can participate in the opportunities in the biofuel space.
So how are you seeing the enthusiasm from the farmers to get into these kinds of programs?
So this will be our 5th year of running programs. We are just under 10 million acres that we've engaged across North America in our programs over the last 4 years. And we consistently have growers that have been with us for 4 years straight and continue to sign back up. So we'll be a little limited on acres we have available this year, but we do see a lot of repeat customers in the programs.
Okay, and so if folks want more information, learn more about these programs, where do they go to look?
Our Nutrien Ag Solutions Farm Smart page is a great place to look. And then Sky Hoffman is our Corn Belt Regional Sustainable Ag Manager, who is available to answer any additional questions.
All right, well, I thank you so much for that information, Sally.
Thank you, Dustin.
That again was Dr. Sally Flis of Nutrien. We're going to take a short break and hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. When we come back, we'll talk with Ross Baldwin of agmarket.net. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net. Well, back on Ag Matters PM, and it is time to run down those closing markets. And as promised, we are here with Ross Baldwin of agmarket.net. Ross, what did we see come out of those grains today?
It was a mixed day of trade across the grain markets. Corn was under pressure all day. July corn ended the day about 4 cents lower, and December corn was 3 cents lower. Over in the soybean market, July soybeans led the way. Saw some bull spreading going on across those markets, but July beans were 5.5 cents higher. November beans, they were pretty quiet, but they were up 2 cents on the day. And over in the wheat market, Chicago wheat was 6 1/4 lower. Kansas City was about 8 cents lower. Just a very quiet day. Not a whole lot of news to really drive the grain markets to do a heck of a lot here today.
I know we talked last week. It was one of those days where maybe no news was good news. Just let the market kind of do its thing and digest what had been happening in the last couple of days.
Correct. And and we'll take it. I mean, the corn market's held in as we had all this negative news here recently on the trade front. The corn market's been extremely resilient, and even at today's low, July corn, it found support near the 100-day moving average and the 20-day moving average, which is right at that 477 area. So corn, it's having a little bit of a correction. The funds have been holding a decent sized long position as we saw this rally here recently. They were really building into the long side, and just with planning, the planning forecast, it looks pretty good. I mean, there's areas that are, a little bit slower, but you're always going to have that. But for the most part, I mean, we're seeing strong progress, and there's been some chatter that this progress that we're seeing be made and the forecast, it's conducive for more corn acres. And I think that's maybe a little bit of what this spreading action you're seeing between corn and beans, what's driving that is the possibility for more corn acres, which maybe puts corn up to 96 million or, say a little over that. And a lot of that'll come at the expense of bean acres, which with where the bean acres are at today, there's very, very little room for error in the upcoming growing season here in the U.S. So I think beans are definitely going to be paying close attention to that and the forecast and the possibilities that could come if there was a weather problem at some point.
All right, moving over to the livestock side of things, I know cattle and hogs have had a strong couple of days. Did that momentum continue on today, or what did we see come out of there?
They did. The hog market was pretty quiet today. June hogs were down 12.5 cents, but for the most part, I mean, hogs, they're above the 100-day moving average. June is. They've had a sharp rally. They're back above that $100 mark, which, I mean, hogs, I mean, they have a supportive story here. And you look over into the cattle market, cattle obviously, given the record high prices that they're at, that's also supportive for the hog market. And April live cattle, June live cattle, they made new contract highs here today, new all-time highs for that. But April live cattle ended the day up $1.32. June's were up $1.82. The high for April today got up to $213.62 was the high, and that's a new all-time high for any front month live cattle contract. April expires here next week on the 30th, but just given the strength that we've seen here recently, how much higher cash was last week, there's a lot of optimism that we'll see cash trade be firmer again this week. I think there's a likely scenario that you could see April go off the board even higher than where it's at today, but we'll just have to see what cash is. Over in the feeder cattle market, feeders, they were up pretty much $1 to $1.50. Some of those contracts, I mean, they're pushing up on the all-time highs, new contract highs. It's the feeder cattle market's been extremely resilient. They underperformed relative to live cattle today, but the funds are holding a big position in feeders. And I think just right now, you got the feeder index at this 289 area. And so feeders, I mean, they're just kind of walking before they run at this level. But I think you still hear a lot of chatter about the potential for feeders to get up to that $300 mark on the board. And the cash feeder market across the country would certainly support that, because the feeders, they remain record high across the country in sale barns. So I look for the feeder index to continue to move higher, which should support that feeder cattle market.
All right, Ross. Well, if folks want to talk about what some of their options are, what they can be looking at on their marketing plan, what's the best way for them to get in touch with the folks at agmarket.net?
You can reach me at our office here in Anthony. Our number is 712-373-3276, or you can visit agmarket.net to find any of the ag market brokers.
All right, Ross. We thank you so much for the insight. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Thanks for having me.
That again was Ross Baldwin of agmarket.net. Let's take a look at the closing numbers on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network market screen. May corn was down 3 3/4 at $3.72 even. May beans up 5 1/4 at $10.40 1/4. Soy meal down $1.10 at $2.90.80 per ton. Soy oil up 33 cents at $47.91. Chicago wheat down 7 1/4 at $5.28 1/4. Kansas wheat down 8 1/4, $5.37 3/4. Minneapolis spring wheat down 4 3/4 at press time at $5.90 3/4. Oats down 2 cents at $3.55 3/4. On the Merc live cattle up $1.82 at $208.10. Feeders up $1.42 at $288.35. Lean hogs down 35 cents at $91.87. Pork cutouts up $2.95 at $102.92. And Class 3 milk 20 cents higher at $18.57. And that's been a check of the closing market recap, and that brings us to the end of today's show. You can find all our content online at iowaagnet.com, as well as follow us on Facebook, X, and here on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you're notified each time we put out a new video project. Also, don't forget about the replays available of Iowa Ag Matters, Positive Potential, all of our market casts, as well as some of our market analysis that's sent 3 times a day right to your mobile device through the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network podcast. From the iAron Studios in Des Moines, I'm Dustin Huffman. For Andy Peterson, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.